Hello everybody, welcome back to the adventures of Anton Rayne and Suzerain. We have what may be the most difficult meeting ahead of us that we've had to date. It's with Tory of our own party. It's on the planned reforms. I assume to the Constitution. Why is this such a big deal? Because we gotta get enough support to pass our new Constitution. And we're slowly trying to cobble it together. Like the PIFJA party, the People's Freedom and Justice Party, they want a lot of the things we want, as in a weaker executive branch. PIFJAs are the light blues here. USP, that's our party. Our party's kind of split. The reformist leader of our party, Clavin, wanted the workers' rights bill. We passed that. Now, I didn't pass that for him, but it was a happy circumstance. We both wanted that. He said he'd support the constitutional reforms if we passed that. When it comes to the justices, not that we have their support for sure, but I've left the Section 8 the same here, in that you can't impeach justices to try and get them on our side. So our biggest problem we have right now in getting the Constitution through is probably going to be our own party, who has a rather slim majority. And part of the problem is, the reason we have a majority is because our system sucks. It's not very representative of the people, right? We have a majority in the legislature, in our Congress, the Grand National Assembly, but we only won about a third of the vote. And so I want to change that. I want to change it so that we lower the election threshold to 3%. Meaning, if you can get over 3%, you can get a seat of the popular vote. You can get a seat in the legislature. That way, small parties that are currently not allowed in the legislature would have votes. You know, the Blues, the people from Bergia. There are other small groups right now that have no representation in Congress that could. Because the current election threshold, I forget, is like 15 or 20%, where if you guys don't get at least that many votes, you don't get a seat. And so I want that so more people are enfranchised. She's unlikely to want that, because that's going to make our party weaker. I arrived at the Grand National Assembly, which was only a 5-minute drive away from the palace. Today I had a private meeting with Tory, one of the leading figures of the USP. That's our party, the United Sordland Party, Sol's old party, to get her approval for the proposal. She was also key in reaching the 150 signatures to propose the new Constitution, as she had extensive control over our party's conservative and moderate wings. Those are the ones we're trying to win over, are actually the conservative and moderates in our own party. As I walked through the corridors of the Grand National Assembly, strutting my stuff, I was confronted by my memories of the historic building. Despite being a member of the Assembly not long ago, it now felt like the distant past. I walked into the left wing of the Assembly, which currently acted as the quarters of the USP. Gloria's office was the first one inside. I knocked on the door and entered. I don't know if I should be formal with her or informal. I'm going to go formal. Good morning, Mrs. Tory. Good to see you, Mr. Rayne. It was a small, neatly organized office. There were small figurines, photos, and plants about the place. It had a homey feel, unlike my own assembly office when I had worked there. On her gesture, I took a seat. The chair was very uncomfortable. My butt deserves better service, lady. I love what you did with the office, Mrs. Tory. I am totally kissing up. She smiled. A woman's touch, they call it. Like men cannot have a sense of tidiness or style. Which might actually be true. Oh. I got feelings too, bitch. Anyway, let's keep this simple, Mr. Rayne. We both know why you are here. You want me to give you my support. True. I don't see why the backbone of the USP would support your rushed reforms. Don't you realize they go directly against the wishes of the founder of this party and of the state? The reforms are not against anyone, Mrs. Tory. It's all in the name of democracy. In the name of democracy? You'd like the USP to disintegrate, wouldn't you, Mr. Rayne?
Even though you owe everything to Colonel Sol, I think you never liked him, nor the party he built.
I don't hate Sol. I mean, he's suspect and I'm worried about him, but I don't hate him. And I don't hate the USP. We're a part of that party. There's nothing personal about this, Mrs. Tory.
Whatever you intend to do, you will be facing quite the opposition. That's all I can say.
You must understand, Mrs. Tory, these reforms are a necessity. Please let me explain.
How?
With words that come out of my mouth hole. Jeez, do I go with the Supreme Court and pointing out their unrestricted power, or do I lean into her sense of duty and say we must lead into the future? I'm gonna just brass tacks and be straight with her. We need these reforms to fix our problems with the unrestricted power of the Supreme Court.
The Supreme Court is already doing what it can to preserve Sol's values. There is no problem here except the ones you are creating with Mr. Richter.
Franz Richter? So you don't like Franz Richter, I get it, okay?
I seriously do not know if the Conservatives would be willing to support you at all. Especially when you're trying to decrease the electoral threshold.
See, this is what I was just talking about. This is the issue I care the most about, and I have no leverage over her. I don't think I have anything I can give her to make her happy. I don't think I have anything I can threaten her with, and I need her votes. But I don't want to give that up. I want people to be enfranchised in this shithole of a country.
You must know that this will mean bringing the communists into the assembly. You probably have a deal with them, or maybe the Pifjas' friends seem to be positive about giving you support too.
I don't want to reconsider the decrease. This is the thing I think I care maybe the most about in what we're going to change. The decrease is important to democratize our elections, Mrs. Tory.
I don't know how your acts can even be justified inside the USP. Decreasing the threshold to 3% is unacceptable. You'll be bringing all the marginal parties into the assembly and reducing our majority.
Yes, I know we will, but then we could try representing the people if we want to maintain our majority.
I cannot allow you to destroy our party. Either this point is removed entirely, or there'll be no discussion.
I'm not willing to cave on this yet. I could say it's not up to you. I'm going to say, I'm going to float out an olive branch. Bitch, what's it take for me to buy you off on this? What will ensure your support?
I don't know what to say before seeing a commitment from you, Mr. Rayne.
The same goes for me. Ooh, reverse Uno card.
All I can promise is that the Conservatives will definitely oppose you unless you remove that clause.
The entire outcome of our constitutional reform and changes hang in the balance right now. Probably somebody who is pragmatic, and we've been pragmatic in a lot of things, would agree to change the threshold reform. But the thing is, in my heart, I am a revolutionary. I cannot promise that, Mrs. Tory.
All right, Mr. President, I'm sorry. I won't be able to help you. I wish you luck gathering the signatures you need.
Oh man, that's not good. She suddenly stood up.
I must get back to work. Thank you for stopping by, Mr. President.
She extended her hand for me to shake. No, I'm not going anywhere until you give me the damn signatures.
Please do not humiliate yourself further, Mr. President.
Do I threaten her? Don't forget who you're talking to, Mrs. Tory. I am the people's representative.
I'd rather not reply to that.
I left her room. Elbin in the reformist wing was my last hope to get the needed 150 signatures for the proposal. Well, I'm glad I didn't threaten her. I wanted to, though. Even then, it looked quite uncertain if we could get 166 votes in the assembly. I went outside. Serge drove me back to the palace where I met Lucien and told him the bad news. Lucien's gonna be mad at me. because Lucian is more pragmatic and would have been willing to give that up. And no! What good is the constitutional changes if we don't fix what's wrong with this country? I don't think I even want to read the news. Yeah, it didn't go well. Sordland today, the BFF, the British Freedom Front, warns Wayland, Sordland, and Lesbia. In a startling announcement, the spokesperson of the British Freedom Front have released a statement condemning the governments of Sordland, Lesbia, and Wayland for their mistreatment of British citizens. The statement warns of potential action against these governments if they continue to ignore the will of the British people. The BFF statement particularly targets the government of Wayland, the country to the west of us, accusing President Smolak of planning to carry out a genocide against the British people. He has said he might go shoot a bunch of them. These shocking allegations demand immediate attention and action from the international community to prevent such atrocities. It is high time for these governments to listen to the voices of their British citizens and respect their rights and freedoms. Otherwise, militant groups like the BFF will take the lead and push the region into violence. Man, what do I do now? I don't regret it. I might come to regret it later on, but I'm standing firm on that 3% threshold. Lucian offers to play chess. Late in the evening, Lucian extends an invitation for a strategic game of chess within the solemn quiet of the presidential office. I could go home and hang out with the family. I so want to do that. But I think Lucian would not do this unless he had a reason. So I'm going to play chess with Lucian. Evening descended on the capital as Lucian and I found ourselves alone in my office. I followed my chief strategist's eyes to the chessboard on the coffee table. The sight of it reminded me of simpler times, of late-night strategy sessions turning into chess matches. We used to escape the political chaos into a world of rooks and bishops. Our battles were both tense and friendly, a reflection of our long history together. Lucian had always proved a challenging opponent. His strategies, both on the chessboard and in politics, had the same unpredictable edge. A soft knock interrupted my reminiscing. Livia came in with our usual coffee. She noticed the chessboard and smiled. Long nights of strategy planning, and now a game of chess? Oh my god, you two never stop thinking, do you, with your big old brains? You know what, I'm gonna be nice to this lady for once. What's your opinion on chess, Livia? Have you ever been tempted to learn? Oh my god. I prefer whist, Mr. President. I leave the complex plotting to the professionals. Have a good game, gentlemen. You take it easy, Livia. She turned and left the room. Lucian acknowledged her exit with a slight nod, his eyes still fixated on the board. I hope you remember that it's not always the king who holds the power. Sometimes a well-placed pawn can change the game. Or the queen, which means should I go home and hang out with my wife? Oh no, wait. Lucian, are you saying I need to sacrifice someone? Lucian's like, I'm just talking about the game, sir. Who do I need to sacrifice to get this constitution through? The power dynamics of a chessboard can teach us a lot about politics. Wouldn't you agree, good friend Lucian? Absolutely, and playing chess with politicians will tell you more about their goals and plans than any speech. Is Lucian positioned... Wait, are you trying to figure out my plans? I can just tell you them. Is Lucian positioned the pieces on the chessboard? It stirred memories of our early days in the United Sordland Party. See, I don't hate the party. His dexterous maneuvering reflected the unseen orchestration that helped Peter and me ascend through the ranks. As the final piece was set into position, the board transformed into a silent battlefield. Shall we get this game underway, good friend Lucian? Indeed, Mr. President. A game of chess is exactly what we need. Man, if I'd gone home, I could have played a game of chess with my wife, haha! What color do you prefer? Black as usual or white this time? You know what? It doesn't matter to me, Lucian. I can play either side. You, for once, take the side you want. If it doesn't matter, allow me the honor of the first move. I'll take white. A strategist's choice. I'm not surprised. The board is yours to react to. Well, you could have taken the black if you wanted to. With the size chosen, Lucien sat back, his fingers laced together in contemplation. And thus the game began. Lucien moved his knight from G1 to F3, aiming for a retty opening. Interesting start there, Lucien. Very interesting. I'm gonna march the knights. Countering Lucien's knight, I maneuvered my knight from G8 to F6, eyeing the center and setting up defenses. Symmetry, an art form in itself. Yeah, I'm always a sucker for symmetry. Lucien's response came in the form of a G2 to G3 pawn move, hinting at the decision to fianchetto his bishop. I don't know that word. I think you might have figured that out. Ah, a fianchetto setup. Interesting there, Lucien. You know what they say about variety. It's the spice of life. Now I'll have the church attack you. Bishop's threat. Activate. Responding to Lucien's decision to fianchetto, I moved my bishop F8 to C5, threatening his pawn structure. With this, the stage was set. The opening maneuvers had transformed into a mid-game battle of wits. I want a battle of tits! That's way more interesting. Each pawn push, every subtle repositioning, had been a testament to Lucien's strategic prowess and my resilience. The next move would prove crucial. Lucien's queen cut a path through the heart of the board, menacing my vulnerable king side. The stakes were sky high. A bold pawn advance could release my rook's potential and threaten Lucien's knight. On the other hand, I could gamble with a rummish gambit, a risky play that could wrestle control of the center away from him. Let's do the gamble. I attempted a rummish gambit. I decided to risk a critical pawn, hoping to gain an advantage in the middle game. The rummish gambit, pushing down the center. Bold but risky. Oh no, he knows what I'm doing. Fuck! Sometimes one must gamble to win, Lucien. He calmly slid his queen across the board, threatening my isolated pawn. His subtle smirk revealed he understood my gambit and was ready to counter. Lucien had made a bold move, pushing his pawn forward and forcing my bishop into a vulnerable position. While the urge to secure my threatened bishop was strong, an enticing opportunity also lay before me. A potential double attack on Lucien's king and rook. Initiate the Risian fork! I maneuvered my knight expertly, landing it on a square that posed a double threat to Lucien's king and rook. Now what will you protect? Oh, a daring maneuver under fiery pressure. You're an adept tactician, but this is far from over. In response to my knight's threat, Lucien moved out the threat, creating a barrier between my knight and his king. Interesting, Lucien. Interesting. Trying to defend and not just lose? Only through fire do we learn the nature of the material. I'm going to exploit the back rank. I moved my rook to the last rank, threatening Lucien's king with a potential back rank checkmate. Clever, Mr. President, but did you consider all the consequences? The center was congested, a testament to Lucien's unyielding style. His formation was formidable, his pieces interlocked in a matrix of support, each protecting the other, while simultaneously projecting threats across the board. It was my move, and the game had entered its final stages. Lucien's queen was uncomfortably close, radiating danger. I had only a few passes before me. The game was slipping from my grasp. I had two options, a risky knight sacrifice that could lead to a swift end, or hunker down and hope for a draw. What fun is a draw? Boring? Let's risk it. We'll risk it all for the biscuit. If we lose, we at least did our best. Knight sacrifice. I decided to sacrifice my knight, hoping that the unexpected move would throw Lucien off balance. I'm not feeling so good about my chances right now, to be honest. A bold sacrifice. Let's see how this plays out. If Lucien fell into the trap, I might manage a draw. If he saw through it, my loss was imminent. No, wait! Wait, no! A sacrifice in vain. I accept. Lucian seized the opportunity, capturing my sacrifice knight and strengthening his position. You fool! You have fallen into my non-trap trap! My bold move backfired. Lucian's pieces closed in, trapping my king. It was checkmate. The game was over. Lucian had won. Good game, dude. Your strategy was superior, Lucian. I admit defeat.
You played well, Mr. President. Better luck next time. Time well spent. We learn less from victories, though.
Lucian and I slowly began to dismantle the chessboard, each piece carefully placed back into its protective casing. Lucian was in high spirits, his eyes gleaming with a rare look of contentment.
The high stakes and the strategic intricacies of the game remind me of the trials I endured early in my career. Although the situation there was rarely as black and white. Ho, ho!
Strategical intricacies, eh? Sounds like you've got some interesting stories about that career. Care to share one, Lucian?
In a way, chess prepared me for some of the challenges I faced. I was involved in some complex situations where every move could drastically alter the landscape.
Every move altering the landscape? Your early career must have been quite eventful.
Indeed, Mr. President, my past isn't without its share of shadows. There was a time when I served in a capacity that wasn't so straightforward.
Is that why you sometimes give Penis Head like a weird look?
I danced on the knife edge, every step carrying deep consequences.
Lucian's gaze dropped to his empty glass as he fell into a moment of quiet introspection. Can you tell me more about this different capacity that you served in? I am certainly intrigued.
I can tell you that there were instances where I found myself in the midst of, well, let's call it intelligence work.
Oh my, you were a spy?
It was a complex dance, rife with deception and shadows.
So you were a spy? That sounds fascinating.
Spy is a simplistic term, Mr. President. My past roles were, let's say, less than conventional. I served for the national interests of King Egmont.
What?
Much as I'd love to elaborate, I must take my leave. Thank you for a delightful match.
But aren't you going to help me with my problems? Thank you, Lucian. That match was indeed captivating. It was a good time.
Oh, I hope to play again soon, though I cannot promise the outcome will be any different for you.
Oh, burned! He smiled.
Good night, Mr. President.
As Lucian departed, I thought about what he told me. I'd learned a thing or two, but the man was more of a mystery than ever. Very interesting. So Lucian used to be a spy for the old king. I don't know how we'll ever use that, but that's very interesting. Either way, I hope I didn't blow the Constitution thing. We'll find out in the future. Maybe I'll see you next time.